Hey, it's Joshua Suzanne here at Rags-A-GoGo, and yes, it is spring, by the way, and I am in still my winter gear because, well, it's freezing outside, basically. It's spring in New York, but it's snowing out and hailing and thundering. And
sucks.
Oh my God! And you just walked into my store. Where are you in from?
Chicago.
Chicago. And what is your name?
Sally Schwartz.
Sally Schwartz.
Sally Schwartz.
And Sally Schwartz loves vintage, you guys. This woman loves vintage so much that she's dedicated at least part of her life to vintage.
Yes,
what do you do
I
out
have.
there in Chicago that has something to do with vintage?
Well, I produce the Randolph Street Market, which is the big urban antique market, and then I also produce the Modern Vintage Chicago spring and fall clothing explosions.
Right on. What's that all about? What's that all about?
It's really bringing in the top vendors of vintage and jewelry, clothing, accessories, and putting everybody in one space. It creates an explosion, all the fireworks.
Is it vintage people from the Chicago area? Are they coming in from all over?
All over. I
really?
mean, we've got people from Philadelphia, from Texas, from Los Angeles. And I mean, the point is that it should be a really great place to buy and really great prices, but have all levels. So you've got like the top level, the most beautiful, Chanel pieces, Prada, Louis Vuitton, down to
all vintage,
like really culled. Yes.
Wow.
So it's a real shopping experience for people.
Excellent. So those that have money to spend can go there and spend it, and those that don't can go and get something as well. No?
Oh right. Anybody can go in there and find something.
Even hobos.
There's just so much merchandise. It's unbelievable. It's been called the Barneys of Vintage. The people that have come to write about it, they're like, I'm dizzy. I mean, this is like, I'm a kid in a candy store. How
many vendors do you put up?
There's about 70 vendors.
Okay, cool. Nice.
And it's in a 2-story building that's owned by the Plumbers Union in Chicago. It's a Beaux-Arts building with a giant mural of a plumber standing over the skyline of Chicago with the Buckingham Fountain. And it's a really, really neat space with terrazzo floors. There's this giant ballroom and
beautiful. Now let's get back to the market that you do. You said monthly, Randolph Street?
Right, the Randolph Street Market, and it's May through September. It's in the West Loop, which is the trendy art neighborhood, and it's where the fruit and vegetable
And how big
started.
is that? How many vendors show up for that one?
Well, that is like 250 to 350 vendors, and it's like because we say it's like 6 acres.
Wow!
So it's outside and inside, and it's a giant compound that's owned by, again, the Plumbers Union.
Wow!
So it's massive.
Is it clothing? Is it furniture? Is it kind of everything?
Single thing you
I can't
could possibly
wait to get there.
want.
I would.
And then
guys, I would be drooling. I would need a napkin with me. I'd just be like.
People that have been to other markets say it's the biggest. Well, it's the biggest one in the country in an urban setting. And it's the best because everyone's very selected. I mean, it's really like the best of the best.
Right on, right on. Now, I have a little info over here.
RandolphStreetMarket.com.
I'm going to put this over here. Now, this is for the Vintage Chicago, right? So let's just go up to the camera with this just quickly so people can take a look at this. And they can find this online, right? To get a little bit more info about what this is all about.
RandolphStreetMarket.com. And if you turn it over, this lady right here is our icon. She's our...
I'm zooming. You don't have to.
Okay. And that's my daughter on the camera.
Hello.
Right on, right on.
Who loves vintage?
Now, one last thing, just before we go, you guys. You handed me something called When Danny Met Sally. Now, is this, it says, Vintage with a Vengeance. Is this about the market? What is this about?
And if you turn it over, perhaps the world's most curiously obsessive experiment in all things vintage. Danny and I are both writers.
Okay.
And we are both right around the same age, and we've both been doing vintage. He has the biggest store in Chicago. It's a multi-dealer store.
Wow.
I have the market. We both started around the same time, and we're getting behind the scenes. If you go to the website, you'll see what we're doing is we're finding really bizarre, cool things to talk about. And we're writing. It's a blog, but it's really fun, and it's going to grow.
Okay. I know you love vintage out there because you're here at my store, Rags-A-GoGo, vintage clothing, listening to this woman. Get to Chicago. You know, someone told me a long time ago, about 20 years ago, someone from Chicago said, if you can't get to Chicago, get to Rags-A-GoGo. Well, if you can't get to Rags-A-GoGo, get to Chicago. Get to her
And if you come to New York and you're from Chicago, go to Rags-A-GoGo.
Yay.
Because it rocks.
All right, you guys, enjoy your vintage finds, and we'll see you back here. Ciao.
You're so fabulous.